Hello, CRS. How we doing? How was that lunch today? It was awesome. I made Royce Rister's jokes twice. I feel like I've made it. I'm B-Dub, host of B-Dub Radio. Thank you for coming to higher education, appealing to a new generation of employees. Couple announcements. One is stay right here. Kenny J paid me to say this so you don't miss his panel coming up next. It's called Radio and Records, Redefining the Relationship. And I know you really don't need to be reminded of this, but Kenny Chesney's in this room at 4 o'clock. Going to be an amazing conversation with Lon Helton. And then tonight, the world-famous Bob Kingsley's Acoustic Alley, sponsored by Country Top 40 with Fitz, Skyview Networks, and First Horizon Bank. With the bar, most importantly, sponsored by ASCAP Radio Inc. will present the Top Country PD Awards. Kicks off at 7 o'clock right here tonight as well. And after that, get your bell bottoms ready. BBR Music Group, BMG presents Lainey Wilson's Bell Bottom Music Celebration beginning at 9:30 in the Broadway Performance Hall. So, we're doing good, right? Everybody's feeling okay? Who's just hungover today? Anybody? Before the session starts, just a quick reminder, please put your cell phones on silent. And, if you need to step out, make a call. But hopefully that doesn't happen in the next 30 minutes. I saw some of the people that are on this panel, and I was going to roast Drew Bland. But then I figured at like 39, this is his last year to be on a panel about new generation of talent. So, and then I was like, not going to do that because I'm actually a day older than him. So it's all good. Please welcome moderating today's panel, SVP of Digital for Odyssey. Give it up for Tim Clark.
Thanks, B-Dub. Hey, everyone. How we doing? I've done many a panel at CRS over the years, but I've never made it to the big stage until now, so it's great to play this stage with you guys. That didn't land. All right. So I'll skip the bad jokes and jump right into the panel then. Really fortunate to have this great group of folks up here to talk about attracting, hiring, and retaining the next generation of talent into our industry. Obviously, one of the most important things that we all do as leaders here. Chloe Nelson I'll start with Drew, I'll go in order. Drew Bland is the brand manager of KMLE and The Wolf in KMLE Phoenix. I should know this because it's my own company. And The Wolf in Seattle for Odyssey. Chloe Nelson is the morning show host at K92.3 in Orlando for Cox Media Group. And Benny Smith, I see you brought the cheering section. Benny Smith is the GM and program director of 90.3 The Rock WUTK at the University of Tennessee. All right, so Drew, I'm going to go to you for the first question. What makes a good hire in 2023?
I think somebody who is curious to anything. You know, when we look to add to the team, it's like, do you have talent? Good. That's sort of the entry-level thing, right? You just got to be able to do your job. But the curiosity, I think, personally, separates the good from the great on artist interviews, or we're in radio land, right? You know, so, like, take a normal content piece, and how do you treat it, and how curious do you get around your co-hosts or whatever just to be great? And I really think that's the number one thing right now.
Chloe, as a member of a younger generation, as a talent who has excelled very quickly in our industry, you've already held multiple roles in multiple markets at multiple stations. What has made radio so appealing to you?
Being live and local, and the power of, not this microphone, but the power of a microphone and the impact that we're able to have on our communities. It's a beautiful thing. And whether it's our listeners, we bring a laugh to their morning, or maybe we're giving away tickets, or we have an event coming up. It's a beautiful thing to watch our community be able to come together and just the impact we can have.
Can you expound a little bit on that? Because when we were doing the prep call, you told this story about how you actually didn't know you wanted to get into radio. You didn't decide to get into radio. It sort of happened to you. Can you share a little bit of that story?
I didn't even know radio was a path. So I'm 26. I went to UCF, the University of Central Florida, in Orlando. I graduated back in 2019, and I needed one more internship to graduate. And one of my sorority sisters at the time, I always knew I wanted to do something in country music because I loved it. I had a passion for the industry. And she said, well, why don't you get in with the promo team? There's a country station in Orlando, K92.3. And so I started there, finished out my internship in promotions, and was getting ready to graduate, had a different job lined up in South Florida, and Ashley Morrison, she's here. She has been my mentor, she has been my rock, and she saw something in me bigger than I ever saw in myself. And so I remember, Ash, our conversation after I was getting ready to move down to South Florida. She sat me down and she said, Chloe, what do you think about a career in radio? And she brought me on board on the K team and taught me everything. And I'll say it's an intimidating industry when you first start out, especially I got my degree in event management. I didn't know the first thing about how to work a board. First of all, looking at the board, forget it. There's 5,000 buttons. I was so intimidated by it. But then understanding like the promotion side and the sales side and the on-air side. And I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for her and my CMG family for believing in me and seeing something in me bigger than I saw myself.
That's awesome. I think it's so important that we learn from the experiences of you and others who have found a passion for this business and the mentorship that you got along the way so that we can replicate that and continue to attract the next generations into this industry. So Benny, speaking of the next generations, you have led a student-run radio station, WUTK, for over 18 years, by the way. That's an impressive career. How do you continue to attract students on campus and get them to want to be part of the radio station?
You know, I'm lucky that we are on campus, and so you've got to, you know, here's the bottom line. These young kids, they did not grow up going to furniture store openings with a live remote and getting a free Pepsi and a station T-shirt. They didn't go to car lot remotes or do Meet Your Match at the fair sponsored by the radio station. Radio is not on their radar. I hate to tell you that, but that's where it is right now. So we have to get aggressive and be out in front of them. We're at summer orientation sessions right in front of every one of them, but more importantly, right there where their parents are too, because their parents hear us say jobs, jobs, jobs. And that's what we do, is we have a network of people who actually hire our students part-time in our market and outside of our market before they even graduate. We kind of like to be the minor leagues in Knoxville, and we're ready for the major leagues, the commercial stations, if you will, especially, to call our guys up. So we try to stay in front of them by doing that at orientation, to get them before they're even freshmen, to let them realize all the opportunities that exist at WUTK, because they don't know what those are anymore. They're not exposed to them like they used to be in the past. And so that's our job. And it's your job, too, frankly, as a commercial radio stations especially. Go out and do some summer boot camps for high school kids. You know, go find those juniors and seniors who have some sort of an inkling of interest in video and production and radio and music, or don't know quite what radio is, and do some summer boot camps, or go into their schools and make sure they know, like she said, that these opportunities exist, because frankly, the truth is, they don't know like my students knew even 10 years ago. So just trying to get in front of them even before they get to UT, that's what we try to do to make sure they know what the opportunities are when they get to campus.
What strikes me about what you just said is you're being very intentional. Like, you're rolling up your sleeves and you're going out there, and it's like recruitment today for us has to be a hand-to-hand combat, right? You can't just expect that people are gonna know to come to you and ask those questions. You have to engage with them.
Absolutely. They're not coming to us like they used to. Now, there are some who do. Mike Keith's daughter. Mike started at WUTK as the voice of the Tennessee Titans, a great success story, he will tell you. He wouldn't be doing what he's doing today without WUTK in his life. His daughter came to WUTK as well. She knew, but there are lots of others out there who aren't like Abby Keith, who don't know. And you're right, it's almost an aggressive recruiting campaign we have to do, because they're not coming to us as much as they used to. So we have to go to them and let them know those opportunities.
By the way, we will leave time at the end of the session, a little bit of time for questions. So if you have questions for the panel, please go ahead and submit those in the CRS app. And Chloe, I'm going to come back to you. I know your manager's in the room, so you can lie, but tell us about, no, I'm kidding. Tell us about, as you think of your managers throughout your career and your leaders, what can you tell the room, what can you tell leaders in the room in terms of what those folks have done for you to make your career experience a positive one and to keep you invested in this industry?
I was going to use that word. They believed in me. They invested in me from the beginning. And I knew that the road was not going to be easy. I started off producing a morning show, working part-time, but I loved it, and I got the radio bug for it, and I knew it was going to eventually pay off. And hearing from all of my mentors at CMG, from Ashley, they all started where I was, and that was really encouraging. And knowing, hearing from them that they believed in me and they know I could do it. I moved away. My old program director, Pete DeGraff's here today. I moved to Athens, Georgia for 2 years from family and friends, but I knew it's what I had to do in order to gain that experience, make mistakes, to learn and grow, and ultimately just, thank you. Thank you to all of you sitting here, CMG, for just believing.
Drew, talk about a recent hire that you are proud of, a success story, someone you found and identified as a future talent.
We've got a thing going right now, actually, in Seattle that started in Phoenix with a sales assistant that was in our building. Her name's Gabe Mercer, and she's turned out to be a pretty good rock star for us in radio. But she, was just helping in sales and wanted to be involved in whatever was going on around the artists and around the station, around events, and started producing great content. Not on the radio, it was digital. It was all social media, and she was just a driving force on that and pushed everybody else's game to a higher level. And so we really took a strategy and built her backwards and took from the TikTok, Instagram world, her content strategy, and took that and worked it onto radio. So she sort of doesn't think like a radio person, which is great to have people who don't think that way. And she comes at everything in a very curious, path of what if we did this? And now she'll go to an interview with an artist and in 3 minutes get 7 different pieces of content that are all bite-sized, some are longer, and it just goes the entire gamut. She's doing fantastic. We just moved her to Seattle to go do mornings.
You helped her understand the bigger platform and the benefit that radio could have to what she was already doing in the social media space.
Absolutely. I mean, the social media space was likes and views, and you could track that instantly, but this now, the dots have been connected to where she's feeling it. And you feel it with the clients that have bought into, big endorsement campaigns for this talent. And we've done it several times with other talents too, where it's the same thing. But once you connect that dot, then she started seeing the money from it. I don't know about you, but any talent that you have working for your station, they always want to make more money, right? Yep. If you're paying them $1 million, they want $2 million. I know that's what you're paying over there, right? Yeah, okay. We don't all work for Cox, but we did. What's with the jokes, guys? No? But for real, that's a great example. You can go follow her. Just search Gabe Mercer. There's a lot of examples like that. But it's fun to see somebody be creative and take a risk and give them an opportunity to take the risk is really, I think, what it comes down to.
Well, and again, it comes down to you being proactive and having your eyes open to somebody who is doing something different and, on TikTok. And you recognized as a leader, you recognized that talent in her.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to not be afraid to fail and to set our talent up and to set our personalities up and to set anybody who's working on our teams that we're leading, to set them up to fuck up a little bit. But what's going to happen if you make a mistake? We'll be okay. And as long as that they know that, I feel that the performance is just at a higher level because that fear is removed. It's like removing the fear of ratings from a morning show. Same thing.
Yep. Benny, maybe we'll go to you next for this question. Career path is such an important part of the experience. I call it non-monetary compensation, is the development and the learning that you're getting out of any job, any experience. And you probably have a lot of conversations with your students about career, right? How do you think the new generations of employees think about career path? And how do you help guide them through that thought process? What advice do you give them?
Absolutely. It's the 2 Ps. You mentioned one, paycheck. You got to have it. But at WUTK, where lots of mistakes are made, believe me, and on a daily basis, but we get through it. The second P is that passion. And that's what we try to get them connected to. They've got to understand when you go into broadcasting, there are no weekends anymore, especially if you're in sports broadcasting. You got to put in, if you put in a 14, 15, 16-hour day, maybe working a festival and helping MC and do things, and you go get 6 hours of sleep, you got to be just as fired up the next day to go do it again. And so that's what we try to do is we connect that passion, whether it's a love of music, what leads them down there to the basement at Andy Holt Tower on campus, or a love of sports. And then from there, you start basically as a DJ, but what we try to do is push them in the deep end after that. You know, you got the basics under you. Now it's time to take the training wheels off, and now let's see how you can really go downhill. And my job is to kind of grease that bicycle chain. Their job is to pedal as fast and as far as they can while they're there 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long it takes to get to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. But, you know, that's what we try to do is help them find that passion. But let me tell you, these kids are never satisfied. They're always looking for something new, something challenging, something different. You know, social media is a big drive of that too. So if you can hook into that and make sure they know it's not just now, there's things down the road and other opportunities that lie down the road for you, not just inside this station, but especially when you get outside of this station. You know, we keep trying to dangle that carrot, if you will, and let them know you're just getting started, bro.
Chloe, as a talent,
Bounce
what would you
off of
tell?
Benny really quick?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to bounce off of you, Drew, and then you, Benny, because Benny and I had the conversation backstage. But think about how many. I'm 26. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I know how to do the reels and all the things. We see artist interviews all the time on social media, and 98% of those interviews are done by radio hosts. And I don't think Benny and I were talking about this, that the college age, high school age, they realize that that's how they're done.
They love it. Yeah, we just had a band played Knoxville Bijou Theater, 750 capacity, by the name of Flip Turn. Great indie pop band. My guys had the opportunity to interview them. My students in the music department, you would have thought it was Christmas Eve all week long leading up to the day of that interview. I had to go teach class. So I left them with that band, you know, did a great interview. And they had 2 or 3 video cameras set up, you know, and I just made sure the mic was hot. And the rest took care of itself. And, man, the next thing they asked was, when can we do the next interview? And that was their first interview. And because we literally had to rebuild our music department in post-COVID, as a lot of people had to do a lot of rebuilding. But, yes, you're exactly right. And they were the ones doing the video part of it. I didn't know a thing about that, but they sure did a great job of it, and they're ready to do the next one.
We've been talking about the challenges of, you know, attracting this next generation of talent in general, but within that is also the challenge of continuing to focus on diversity and making sure that our teams represent the communities that we serve. And I think we'd all agree, I think the whole room would agree, while we've made substantial progress, there's still a long way to go. So it's important that as hiring managers, that's always on the forefront of our thought process. Benny, I'll start with you because you shared a great story, or you shared how you guys think about diversity as it plays into your programming and your content, and how do you think about the team?
Absolutely. We're lucky at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. We're very aggressive in inclusivity and diversity and things of that nature, and that obviously is part of the radio station's mission as well. We do it mainly through our programming. We're lucky that we get a pretty even distribution, if you will, of male-female, which is really cool, but we do it through some programming aspects. Number one would be probably our show Out Loud Knox, which is a show that deals with LGBTQ plus issues, in particular for students on campus. And they just DJ'd the Pride Prom last Friday night, you know, so getting out of that studio and doing things like that as well. We have another one called Rocky Top Roundup, and that is a student issue show that brings in students from all backgrounds, all nationalities, and talks about their life on campus and what they have to deal with, good, bad, and ugly, because a lot of people think it's a cakewalk in college, and obviously those of us who've been and been there, it's not every day. And so that's a great show that helps to show that and also show the diversity on campus as well. So we're lucky in that at UT it's kind of built in. But I think through programming, there are ways, and at night, you know, we've got a diversity. I mean, we'll do 2 or 3 blocks of hip-hop, 2 or 3 blocks of some of the loudest, most aggressive heavy metal you've ever heard. And that, you know, all those shows bring in different folks from different backgrounds as well. So our programming kind of lends us to that, but the University of Tennessee, you know, we really are aggressive with that, and it kind of trickles down as well.
Excellent. I think we'll do like about 2 more questions, and then we'll take questions from the room. Don't forget to submit them through the app. Chloe, I'd love to hear from you on this, but would love you, Drew, to weigh in also, you know, from your experience as a manager. But what do the new generations of employees look for in terms of their career experience or their career work-life experience, right? Like, I've always hated the phrase work-life balance because it's not like you go to work and then you go to your life when you're done with your work. I think it is important that everybody, we all would agree that we want a fulfilling time. We want to be able to do our best work, and we want, you know, we want that to integrate into our life in certain ways. So what would you say works for you?
I think my two words are longevity. When I first started, was a career path that I know I could stick with for a really, really long time, especially for someone that's 26. I'm not married, I don't have children, but those are things that you start to think about for sure eventually in the future, and making sure financially that I can support myself. And two is the opportunity for growth. I started back in 2019 in promotions, and I've been in the industry now 4.5 almost years. And now I'm hosting a morning show for a country station, and I've jumped. I mean, I went from Orlando to Athens and back to Orlando, but the opportunity to really to grow and to just gain good experience in the industry.
I think it's important. Everybody wants fast growth. It feels like these days, like it's overnight success. Artists want to be Bailey Zimmerman, you know. Everybody does. That's their number one goal. And I think our talent are the same way. But I've tried to take an approach, and I've tried to encourage everybody that I influence to take an approach of caring as much about their career path as they care about their career path. And we find that, you know, with a lot of morning shows, you know, the host could be at the end of their career. You know, they're coming on the backside of it, but they want people around them on the front side of it. But if they don't care about what is next for them, those people are never going to care about how that person's going to maintain their trajectory. And I think it goes for brand managers and sales managers and whatever. Like, everybody's in the same thing. We know they want to make money. That's a given. You know, that's always going to be the thing. But that's what I think is really valuable right now, and hopefully it's present.
Awesome. All right, last question for everyone. We'll kind of go down the line here. Benny, maybe we'll start with you. So you're sitting with a young professional who is about to enter their career, enter the workplace, and they're considering audio and radio as their career path. Give your number one reason why they should take a job in this industry.
Creativity. You know, when I poll my students, that's one of the biggest things they say, is they can be creative and they have the tools to be creative. I don't know any other form of media who gives you those tools like radio does, like broadcasting does. Whatever format, whatever market, you know, it's there for you. And so that's what I would say is just given that opportunity and then running with it. That would be it.
Work doesn't feel like work. Granted, there are days, like we all have our days, work can be really hard and come with its challenges, but when that microphone comes on, I have so much fun in the studio, and it's a blast. And I mean, really, my friends tell me all the time, they're like, that's what you get to do for a living? Like, being here at CRS and the opportunities and all the things we get to experience and do, it's a lot of fun, and I feel just very blessed and lucky.
I think that it's not a real job. You know, I mean, let's be real. Like, what we're doing is not real. We're just putting stuff out into the world, and we're hoping that we're entertaining and making people smile. And, you know, I don't know if anybody was at the Ryman where Vince Gill has that little speech that he gives every time about, like, the difference that you can make in an artist's life by playing their song, but also, like, we have the power of not doing real stuff that makes a real impact on people. And if you could find a way to digest that concept, that's amazing. And you don't get to do that in TV news. You just don't.
Awesome. I have completely forgotten how the question process works from here, so if somebody could throw me a lifeline. Fantastic.
Check. All right, we got some questions via the app. For Drew, you've hired some people who applied online from small markets, didn't have a lot of large or major market experience. How did you convince your management to allow you to take a chance on those individuals?
You know, I've had this several times, actually. Alec is sitting in the room. Everybody, Alec has a panel tomorrow called Living the Dream, and I hope everybody attends it. You know, but for real, it's about contagious enthusiasm, I think. And if you can convey belief to whoever is doubting you, eventually they'll start believing you, you know? And hopefully you've vetted everybody and you have a plan to go through on the interview process and the hiring process and the exploratory process to find out where their curiosities and creativities are and where they balance out your weaknesses. And like diversity, you know, find somebody who's going to come into your office and shut the door and tell you you're an idiot and that it's the worst idea ever and their idea is the best idea ever, you know, because that's diversity of thought that I think is going to get us a lot further in everything that we do. But really, it's about being confident in your decision, you know, and supporting everything that goes along with it. And chances are they usually come around.
All right. And for all three of you, what is your advice for students and interns attending events like CRS? What's the best and most effective way to put yourself out there if you're new?
Network, go meet people, press the flesh. That's one of the things we work really hard at WUTK doing, is putting our station and our students in a network of decision makers from Nashville to Cookeville to the Tri-Cities to Chattanooga to Knoxville. And it's who you know, and that's one of the biggest things that I tell my students to try to teach them. There's not a better place to get that who you know going than an event like this. And, it'll really tell a lot about yourself as well when you go up and introduce yourself to those people and start building that confidence in yourself.
I would say the same thing. Network, make those connections. Haley Bartoletta, she took my job at CMG in Athens, Georgia, doing the morning Chanaz. She's also PD of two of our stations. She's only 22 years old, and she reached out to me a while back when she was getting ready to graduate, and she just sent me a message on Instagram and said, hey, I listen to you in Walker. I have no idea how to get involved in radio, but I really want to do one day what you do. How do I get there? And so I brought her in the studio, and she shadowed me, and we ended up hiring her. So yeah, it's pretty special.
My advice would be, if you're nervous about something, chances are the person that you want to talk to is nervous for the same thing. And that sort of networking, like if you go, God dang, I really want to meet Travis Moon. Man, that would be awesome. And he's probably sitting there going, man, I really want to meet Drew Bland. That would be awesome. And eventually you just got to go for it. And the best part about CRS is you know everybody's name. It's on their name tag. They're looking at yours, you can look at theirs, and then you automatically have that connection. But really, like, it's nerve-wracking networking because you go like, God, I don't want to look like an idiot. But everybody's thinking the same thing. So once you get past that, it'll be an awesome event for you.
And ask for help in networking, too. I know I'm a moderator. I'm not supposed to chime in, but we all know each other. So we ask somebody, hey, do you know Travis Moon? Can you make an introduction? I'd love to meet that guy.
Does anybody know Travis Moon, by the
I
way?
don't think anybody knows Travis
Oh,
Moon.
wow, that'd be awesome.
That's a made-up name.
Yeah.
Are we good? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your attention. Thanks for being here. Thanks to the panel. You guys were fabulous. Enjoy your CRS.